Congratulations, Australia. You won Eurovision. Kind of. Not the real Eurovision, which, of course, you know, has been cancelled, but Eurovision of artificial intelligence. And Australia, you won with this.
Love keeps on coming, flying, flying. Dreams to live on the wings of happiness.
That is a song that was built with artificial intelligence, and it has won this sort of Eurovision-style event over in Europe. To explain that, we have Caitlin Welsh, the editor of Mashable Australia, and Dom Alessio from Sounds Australia. Dom, what exactly did we win?
There is a competition that was run because obviously Eurovision is not happening this year, and fingers crossed it will be back in 2021 because I love Eurovision. So instead there was a competition, and you will have to refresh my memory as to which country it was held in.
Dutch broadcaster VPRO that I instigated.
There you go. Where they called on songwriters from Eurovision countries who work with artificial intelligence to create a song using AI, which, you know, it's an interesting concept, Mark. I will say that. That sounds pragmatic, right?
It sounds super pragmatic. I guess you do work for an organisation that is designed to support Australian human music artists. I will confess that my TV show, The Feed, and obviously working at SBS, we've known about this for a while. We actually did a story on it for The Feed a couple of weeks ago. And everyone in the office, when they were editing it, they all said, I don't know how they've done it, but this song, it makes no sense, but it's really catchy and it stays in my head. And now, having sat and listened to it a few times, Caitlin, I don't know what the robot is doing, but it kind of works in my head. Am I just mad?
It totally does. And I think the thing about forms that we're familiar with and formats that we're familiar with where AI and machine learning created content is kind of starting to emerge is that it does break your brain a little bit. It really does. Like if you think of, you know, the swirly images that broke everyone's brain a few years ago, was it Deep Dream?
Yes.
I really should know this off the top of my head. Deep Dream, like all those, everyone lost their minds over that. And now like it's getting even more advanced. There's a famous image that sort of floats around in the internet where it looks like it's a bunch of objects on a table, and then you try and look at each individual object and realize that it's not a recognizable shape or object at all, but the overall impression is of objects on a table. That's the kind of image that possibly only AI could create. And it's the same with these kinds of songs. There's another sort of program tool called OpenAI Jukebox, where you can feed in songs, and there's a few examples up on SoundCloud where people have fed in examples. So, you know, a bunch of Nas songs, a bunch of Katy Perry songs, a bunch of Elvis songs, and you can feed it and the machine trains up on enough of these particular artists and then spits something back out that sounds kind of almost like it, but also not at all.
Well, so that's sort of exactly what happened here. So it was a Sydney-based production studio called Uncanny Valley. They worked with scientists from both RMIT and the University of New South Wales, and they literally did feed in a bunch of Eurovision songs. They did some interesting things on top of it as well. I think the song that you heard there is called Beautiful the World, which is, dare I say, not a sentence. It features some Australian native animal sounds, koalas, kookaburras. I didn't pick up on that, I will be honest. But
No, me either.
But at the very core of it, though, is literally that thing of them feeding in a bunch of Eurovision songs, and I guess the system kind of works.
I like how you said, I listened to the song and it didn't really make any sense to me, but I liked it. And I feel like that's every Eurovision song, right? Have you ever listened to the lyrics of Eurovision song? It makes no sense. Even when it's written by a human, you're like, huh?
Yeah, they all sound like they were kind of either written or performed by robots or both. But yeah, look, I mean, people go, are all the songs on the radio going to be replaced by robot songs? Like, no, of course they're not. Like, it's not something that artists should be afraid of. It's something that can be embraced like any other tool. There's a US artist called Holly Herndon who created an AI which she then trained on the sounds of her own voice, and then she would feed percussion by other artists into this tool, and then it would spit back out with percussion tracks performed in her own voice, and she's using it as a tool like any other. And so, yeah, I mean, it's something that could be used to replace a certain kind of music, but not,
I love that. Very hedged bet, certain kind of music. I mean, it is worth pointing out.
Not Eurovision. I'm not talking about, I'm absolutely not shit talking about Eurovision. Please do not send Julia Zemira to my house to bash me up.
No, it'd be Miff and Joel we send to your house these days. There is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. We're also talking about what COVID-19 means for Australia's musical artists. It's a pretty big impact, and we're talking through that on the podcast. See you then.